Review and approval of the agenda.
The agenda's been amended to include item 9A, a resignation of a board member, and an additional resignation under item 3D, resignation of certified staff.
Do I hear a motion to approve? Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Deb has moved and Chad has seconded to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Consent agenda. Okay. Consent agenda stands as printed. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Gerald has moved and Chad has seconded that we approve the consent agenda as printed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Madam President, if I might, I would like to say thank you to Beth Mulvey for the service that she has done here. I know she's not leaving us quite yet, but this will maybe be the last opportunity that I have. But I want to say thank you for your service, and I want to say thank you for moving us in the right educational direction. I have truly enjoyed it.
I would also like to say thank you to Marilyn Moore. She has been teaching the life skills class at CCC for 36 years, is that right? And I have just learned in the last month or two what a unique blessing that class has been for our students. It's one of a kind in the state, and probably she's not replaceable. So I do want to say thank you to her for her dedication and teaching that class for those students. Okay. Moving on, student recognition. I have apologized to Dr. Ryan. This morning when it was snowing heavy at 9 o'clock and they were predicting the same thing to happen again tonight, I called him and asked that we not have our teenagers out on the roads tonight in bad weather. Having raised two sons myself and lived in the country, that's kind of a bad combination, snow and bad roads and teenage drivers. So we were to recognize the officers of the FFA, Skills USA, DECA, and the adult nursing, and we will reschedule that at a later time. And Dr. Ryan's really glad I don't decide on snow days.
Ask the students, they may disagree.
We do have some program recognitions, so I see Dr. Hoffman there. Would you like to start with those?
Okay. Last time I talked in front of adults was probably about 25 years ago. I'm used to 16 and 17-year-olds. So what I've been asked to speak about tonight is our organization SAD at the high school. SAD is Students Against Destructive Decisions. We have about 25 really active students in our organization. And I just wanted to tell you a few things that we've been doing this past year and we will continue to do. We take part in Red Ribbon Week and help support that. This year we've done several activities with the student body. We've had dodgeball tournaments and volleyball tournaments with FCA. And we've also hosted movie nights where we have students come in after a sporting event, and so they can have an alternative to doing whatever they do after a game, but they can come into a safe place like the high school and have fun and just hang out with everybody. We've had at these events, roughly we average about 100 to 150 students that come to these things. So we're really excited about that. And we want to thank the Booster Club because they helped provide the popcorn for us, and so that's always been a big draw for us. This past year, we've hooked up with the Cass County Health Department, and we were in a contest with other Cass County schools in Battle of the Belts, and I'm happy to say that we went from a 63% seatbelt rate to an 83% seatbelt rate after we had a whole week of promoting and watching videos about making good decisions. forgot something in my car. I'm so sorry. Also, we are working with them on making our mark. We took 14 students to a training session about tobacco use, and they're going to talk to the leadership team at the high school and see how we can make an impact there at the high school. We learned about not only regular tobacco use, but we learned about e-cigarettes, and that seems to be a problem now at the high school. We also had speakers come in and talk about spinal cord injuries, and we're now starting this program the next 2 weeks called It's Only Take One. And I wish I would have brought my t-shirts. This was a year of t-shirts because I think we got like 3-4 t-shirts in this whole deal. We'll be getting more when we go to a conference later, but it only takes one text, one moment, one this, one that, and for an accident to happen. And so we'll be having 50 students actually promoting that at the high school, making a commitment to drive safely, not to text, not to drink, use your seatbelt, and make good decisions while driving. And then lastly, in March, we have we got a grant to take 14 students to the Speak Card Conference in Jefferson City. The first day we'll go down, and we went 2 years ago. We talked to Donna Fauch and Rick Bratton, our representatives, and working on getting that set up again where we get to talk to them about problems and drug use and tobacco use that our teenagers face at the high school. And then we'll be attending a Speak Card Conference. Then they will receive another t-shirt. So we will get 4 t-shirts this year. It's fantastic. And I left 3 in the car because I was going to show you all the wonderful t-shirts so you can spot these students at our school. So I'm very excited about the students there and the impact that they're making. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That is me, and I have a handout for y'all and anybody in the audience. If after I've given my riveting speech, if you would like a copy of this, you are welcome to email me and I will send it to you. I appreciate the board asking me to come and talk about the difference that our kiddos are making at McEwen. And sorry, this is how I teach, so I'm just going to keep walking and talking here. To talk about the difference that our kids are making at McEwen. And I took this home today, and I think I even impressed my children, which sometimes that's hard to do, impress your children. But they're like, oh my gosh, Mom, have you really had a part in all this? And I'm like, well, kind of yes and no. I mean, I work at the school where all this has happened, and our kids have done all these fabulous things. So my 2 main focuses for this presentation would be the fact that we focus on character education so heavily at McEwen and really at all of our schools, K through 12. We have 9 character traits that we focus on, 1 per month, and I always tell my kids, okay, just because respect was in September doesn't mean you quit respecting everybody else in October, okay? That has to carry through. And so to help them learn these character traits and to practice them, we do a lot of service projects, and we have over the years. I've been there for 13 years and have a wonderful boss who supports all of my crazy ideas for service projects, and he's always really good about supporting the kids too when they come to us with service projects. So I'm not insulting your intelligence by reading this out loud, but they don't know what's on your paper. So we talked about the service starts at home. And I'm sure there are some parents in here that have had their kids do the home service project where they've had to do the 3 tasks at home. They have to clean their room and pick up around the house. They have to plan cook and clean up a meal for their family. And then they also have to play a game with a family member, and it's the family member's choice. So, it could be Candy with Land with little sister or, checkers with grandpa. But, and then I ask them to find ways at home to apply our monthly character education traits. So at school, we do box tops for education. Our kids collect on average $1,500 a year for our school. And we use that for things like the 5th grade dance party, or if we need extra games for indoor recess, things like that. We support other schools in our district with their projects, the food drive at the high school. We just recently helped support the homecoming service project. And we collect Campbell's soup labels for ECC, and then we also we were the inspiration for ECC and HES collecting pop tabs for the Ronald McDonald House, and those little kiddos did an amazing job of collecting for us. So Our student advocates and some of the classes have packed backpacks for Food for Thought. They've also stocked the shelves for the Food for Thought pantry. We support the Bright Futures collection barrels. We have classes that are doing My 42 challenges every single month. And that's really been awesome to see them get on board. We have students in classes that are making care packages to be delivered to students that have moved. Okay, and usually I'm the one that I'm like, sure, I'll take it. I'll take it to the school where the kiddo's at. All right, got to go to Malta Bend last week. Anybody know where Malta Bend is? Yeah, I didn't know either. It's about this big, and it's 90 miles from here. So I saw parts of Missouri I hadn't seen, so it was a very interesting drive. So, but I appreciate that the kids think about those other students that have moved to different schools. Classrooms have adopted families for Christmas. We've had some students that have visited the Briarwood School behind us taking Valentine's and treats to those kiddos. And then our 5th grade job program, those kids serve every single day and do all the mundane things that, you know, we don't find exciting, but I mean, they think it's exciting to shell books, don't they, Mrs. Hours? She's here somewhere, so. For our community, we just finished up our Super Bowl. The kids collected 285 soup cans for our food pantry. Children's Mercy Math-a-thon, which is probably my favorite of all of the projects that we do. And we just recently, in the last few years, partnered up with, in honor of Kate Filer. And over the last 6 years, since we've been doing the Math-a-thon, our kids at McEwen have raised over $23,000 for Children's Mercy and to help out the Filers with their goals that they have. And we're going to continue to do that. Last year we had over 30 students that raised $100 or more, which was just incredible. We do our annual Christmas card project where we do Christmas cards for the nursing homes. Collect pop tabs. This was just awesome. I added up all the pounds of pop tabs our kids have brought, and over the last 8 years they brought 1,200 pounds of pop tabs, which if you do the math, that's 1,440,000 pop tabs. That's a lot of pop tabs. So, classes have put together Valentine treat bags recently for families staying at the Ronald McDonald House. We've had a lot of student-generated projects. Last year we had one that was called Help for Hounds, and they collected aluminum cans and supplies for our local animal shelter. And then I heard Mr. Holtz talking about the Lunch Buddy program, that our Lunch Buddies are coming in again this week. This is a new program to us where we have 11 community members that are coming in to have lunch with kids. And when they left, I put that on our list because when they left the last time, which was the very first time they'd ever come, just about all of them said, I think I'm going to get more out of this than the kids are. And that was so incredible to hear. And also I laugh because I think Cricket Chronicky, those of you that know her, her Lunch Buddy is going to have her phone up and going before you know it. Let me tell you, she's going to have all sorts of apps on there. So he's got her ready. So for our country, Coach Hicks organizes our Hoops for Heart, and in the past 11 years, the kids have raised over $27,000 for that, and it's been a really awesome. It's another one of my favorites. Students have contributed to the Scholastic Book Trust through their book orders in class to help low-income families. The staff-initiated Ice Bucket Challenge, thank you, Mrs. Enderly, last fall sparked many of our students to do the same thing. Collection of supplies to send assistance to clear back to the aftermath of 2005 Hurricane Katrina and then 2011 Joplin tornado. We also do our 11 cent campaign on Veterans Day for veterans and their families, which usually generates about $75 a year, which doesn't seem like a lot, but every kid can bring 11 cents. I mean, that's something that every single one of them can participate in. We created over 200 snowflakes to send to Sandy Hook Elementary in 2012 to help transition their students into their new school in January of 2013. And in the past, we've collected over $6,000 through coin drives for the American Cancer Society. Worldwide, our kids, we had a student-generated project to collect discarded and old cell phones to send to an organization that fights world hunger. Another student-generated project that this young man is in 8th grade now, but it's still going on in our school, and it's to collect old glasses or discarded glasses for the Lions Club so that they can be reused, those frames can be reused, and the prescriptions maybe in other countries. And then currently we're collecting pennies for polio for the Rotary International as part of our all-school read service project. And then going way back, students also collected goods and donations to help assist with the aftermath of the Indonesian tsunami in 2004. So I do have a community service award that I hand out every year, and if the kids have, the fifth graders have done all 7 of our normal or usual service projects, they get recognized at the last assembly, and they achieve that award. And every year I've had probably at least 35 students that have chosen to do all of those service projects. Not all of them on this list, but the 7 core ones that we talk about. So I just want to end with the fact that, you know, these kids are an inspiration to me every single day. And that's why we are all here. And leave you with a quote from, of all people, Spock, all right, Leonard Nimoy. And this is our quote that we usually put on our Mathathon t-shirts. But the miracle is this: the more we share, the more that we have. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you inviting me and let me share.
Starting our students at a young age to realize, help them realize they can make a difference. 11 cents or whatever, but we all put our 11 cents together. It does make a big difference. So thank you very much.
And one last thing, one of my favorite things used to be when the food drive was the first week in November, and it never failed that when we would go through and like box up the cans to send, you know, to the food pantry, there'd always be this little Walmart sack that had about 10 pieces of candy in it that some kiddo had. That was all they could give. That was all they had, and they were willing to give that. So pretty awesome kids that we have here.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Coach Maxwell.
Hello. I too want to thanks for inviting me to come today. I've been asked to share some of the achievements of some of our student athletes here in the district. I know I coach football, but I'm actually going to share all of them if I may. I've either coached or taught 9 of these student athletes at some point of their middle school or high school career, and I'm quite proud of them. So even though I may sound like I'm their parents, I know they have parents of their own, but a couple weeks ago on the 5th of February, student athletes throughout the nation celebrated National Signing Day, and this is where they get to commit to a university of their choice that's willing to invest in them as well. It's a pretty exciting day for those kids that have worked so hard. And when you look at the number of student athletes across the United States, really the percentage of students that actually get to go on to play a sport or even participate in an extracurricular activity that they work really hard for and love doing is very, very small. So I feel very fortunate and excited that here at Harrisonville we were able to celebrate on that day, having 9, or actually let me take that back. We had 8 that day, and then have since had another one commit to a local university as well to get to go on to participate at the next level. 7 males and 2 females across 4 different sports: football, baseball, softball, and track and field. Great kids, as all of them are. Without a doubt, I think we'll celebrate even more as the school year goes along, and in all sports and extracurricular activities, whether it be band or or vocal music or drama or swimming, whatever it may be. I mean, we have some great activities going on, and I just think it's awesome knowing me having a lot of student debt loans still, or student loan debt still. I'm super excited for these kids, whether it's a full or a partial scholarship, for them to be able to work that hard, not only on the field but in the classroom. I did some calculations today, and amongst those 9 students, they had a combined average GPA of 3.25. So I think that speaks, loudly of the character that they have and the education that we're providing here at Harrisonville, but also the success that they're able to achieve in extracurricular activities. So with that being said, I don't know what they'll take from here, to be honest. I know as a kid, a lot of them like, I can't wait to get out of here and this and that. I was that way too. But what I do know is they won't forget the academic and the extracurricular activities that we have provided for them. And with their hard work, they're going to get that opportunity to go on and pay for part of their, if not all of their education at the next level, which will hopefully allow them to be successful in their next career outside of being a student. So, thank you.
Okay, board member resignation. This is very hard, but we need a motion to accept the resignation of board member Deb Wellhoff from the CAS R9 Board of Education.
Move to accept the resignation of Deb
Can I second it? My last. I don't think I can, but Mark, you.
Okay. Any questions, comments? All those in favor of accepting Deb's resignation, however reluctantly we are, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? At this time, will your 2 cents come forward?
Deb, I appreciate all you've done for us, the leadership you've shown in this district.
The other one we didn't let come because of the weather, so.
Yes. They're not attached, so be very careful. Again, to echo Chad, thank you for your years on the school board. Thank you for your friendship. It's meant a lot to me. We will miss you. Get out of the way so. Delegations. We have 2 people who have signed up to address items that are on the agenda. Darcy Lommel.
I'd like Beth to come back up here, please. To the back. This is on behalf of the Harrisonville School District, the employees, the faculty, the staff, the students. It's on behalf of community members and everything that you've done for all of us.
Thank you, ladies.
John Cusack.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak tonight. I had some fellow students that also wanted to speak but were not able to due to some prior engagements. The agenda item I'm discussing tonight is addressing the resignations of staff. For tonight, that would be Amanda Atkins, middle school social studies teacher, Ivy Nelson, the technology integration specialist, and Beth Mulvey, the assistant superintendent of academic and student services. With these three registrations, I feel that seems to have been a trend. Within the last year, we have had 30 teachers and administrators resign, including some key staff such as Dr. Beavers, the former assistant principal at HHS, Lee Gruber, the former director of special services, and Dr. Brian McDonald, former superintendent. Also, there are other teachers that I'm not mentioning at this time, but are equally as important to the school district. I ask, why is it that a tech integration specialist who has been here for less than a year felt the need to resign? Why does our assistant superintendent, who has been here for only a year and a half, felt the need to resign? Why is our former superintendent, also the Chamber of Commerce Educator of the Year, resigned? I'm not here to point fingers, but I am here to ask questions. As a student, I trust you, the board, with decisions regarding my education, especially those with staff that run our schools and teach us. My question is, why do we have quality staff leaving? I feel as though not only my trust, but the trust of my fellow students has been violated. I would implore you to make a change. I doubt all of these resignations have something to do with going on in this district. Many people have personal issues that they need to take care of, moving to different places, and I understand that completely, but I do know that some of them are for a fact because of things that have happened in this district. We need to be keeping quality educators instead of driving them away. In a couple of months, I too will be leaving. I'm a senior at Harrisonville High School, and this will no longer be an issue for me. But it is an issue for friends that I'm leaving behind in the high school and people that I know that have children that will be coming through the school district. I'm worried for them, and so I ask on the behalf of the current students and students to come that you take action to build up this school district to what it once was. Make better relations with the staff of our schools to make them want to stay. And above all, show us why we put our trust in you. Thank you.
President of the Royal Guard Band Boosters, will be presenting information on the Royal Guard Band Boosters.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me here tonight. I'm going to make sure what I'm supposed to do is say, but I have a little thing printed out for you to read. Our current officers are President is myself, Carla Hargis. Our Vice President is Kevin Tiemann. Treasurer is Tammy Mackey. And our Secretary is Tara Caratanuti, along with several others who chair and volunteer with committees for uniforms, equipment, hospitality, fundraising, and corporate fundraising. The Booster Club works hard throughout the year with a variety of fundraisers, and some of these fundraisers are our annual fall fundraiser, Sonic Car Hopping, the benefit concert, chili supper concert, funnel cake sales, stadium seat rentals, and etc. Different things we try to do to raise money throughout the year. We started the year with band camp, which prepares the band for marching season. We provided lunch and water for the students each day of band camp. When competitions begin, we provide meals for all the band students, color guard, staff, and volunteers at each competition. We also pay for the fuel for the equipment trucks that take our props and stuff to competitions for us. Various clinicians that aren't maybe covered under regular budgets, we cover that as the band boosters, and we also provide the props for our bands and the shows. The band's accomplishments this year, we headed out to 4 different competitions. We went to Blue Springs. We took first place in our class. We also earned caption awards for outstanding music, outstanding marching, outstanding general effect, outstanding color guard, percussion, drum major, and even got a soloist award. When we went to Ozarko, we placed 4th place in our class, advanced us to finals, and we ended with 4th place in finals. It was pretty stiff down there. We went to Columbia, NEO Champion of Champions, and we placed 3rd in our class. The band earned the highest scores in visual ensemble and for our color guard. At Warrensburg Festival, we took 4th place in our class, and we earned the highest scores in visual general effect and visual effects. We had 6 students selected to the All-District Jazz Band this year. We had 4 students selected to the All-District Honor Band. 2 students were selected to All-District Honorable Mention Band. And then we have for All-State Band, we have a alternate that was selected this year. And we also have an honorable mention to the All-State Band. Winter Guard started their competition season with a 1st place victory at Parkhill this couple weeks ago. And Winter Drumline will begin its competition season next month in March. The really big thing that is coming up is that we are in our beginning stages of planning and fundraising for our trip to Florida next spring in 2016. We have formed a corporate fundraising committee, and flyers have been created and are going to be sent out. We will end our year with our annual band banquet in May. We will celebrate with a potluck dinner, and then there will be a letter awards and various other awards that the band boosters have purchased and provided. We will also wish the senior band members farewell and good luck.
I want to say thank you very much for all that you do, all that band parents do, to make it possible to have an outstanding program, and we really appreciate that.
Kids are great kids, too, so it's fun to work with.
Ms. Argus, I had a question to ask. I was told by a former president of the person who was in your uniforms are 10 years old, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How are they doing? Is that something that we need to look at?
Yes,
After 10
I do
years
believe
old,
so. I think the history of the uniform is usually about every 10 years that they are replaced.
So they said to me, it was 10 years old, and I know as much as they're worn, where they go, there's wear and tear and so forth. So maybe that's something that we can look at. And we have a budget meeting coming up, I know, with Dr. Ryan.
Would be much appreciated. The last uniforms are white, not so white anymore, because after 10 years they have gotten a little dingy, and yes, you're correct, with children, the students do wear them in all weather conditions, rain and mud and snow. And should we get to select new uniforms, we have looked at alternate colors such as black and blue and silver and things like that, which would look much better.
How many bands here?
Huh?
How many bands here?
I believe in the marching band last season we had around 130. We have 26 seniors that will be graduating this year. It's going to be tough. It's always tough when we lose that many, but I think we've got a great 8th grade class coming in, so as parents can be checked that. Thank you. Thank you.
Moving on to communications, the MSBA delegate report. Susie?
I attended the kids' first breakfast in Belton along with Dr. Ryan and Chad, and Deb was there as well. We had representatives there, legislators. They were very interested in our schools. We had a session for question and answers, and that was very good to meet them and listen to them and talk to them. They're very open and want to hear from us. We also have some bills that are being watched by MSBA, House Bill 495, which relates to disciplining students for cyberbullying that occurs off campus. House Bill 499, which has to do with saying the Pledge of Allegiance at least once a day in schools supported by public funds. House Bill 532, which is in regard to funding formula. And then House Bill 328, which requires school districts to adopt a policy on youth suicide awareness and prevention.
Monday, April 20th. Until I became a member of the Board of Education, I did not realize how much our state legislature controls what every local school can do, should do, will do, and how they finance us. So it's imperative that we all keep an eye on the bills in the legislature that affect education, because it affects every one of our students. Okay, moving on to assessment and evaluation of district programs. Dr. Ryan.
We've received the bulk of our property taxes through January. We're at 95.4% through January 31st. Now this does represent the current year load, the 2015 taxes. Does not include the delinquents. We are taking those in, of course, from prior years, but that is the current year. We also received the state railroad and utility tax in January, and we do exceed budget by 10% on both funds. That's distributed to the general fund and the debt service fund. Prop C, or sales tax, is exceeding budget just slightly. The basic formula and classroom trust, though, are falling just a bit behind budget projections because the state adjusted the apportionment calculation from 93.3% down to 92.8% in January. So we may see a little bit of a drop, or in June they may make the difference up. We'll see what happens. Year to date on major expenditures, everything's looking good. We've had budget meetings talking about the year-end numbers, and we're not seeing any big variances. We're thinking everything's going to look pretty good for the end of the year. The projected ending fund balance percentage for Fund 1 and 2 at the end of January is 50.1%. Now this increase is due to the tax receipts, of course, which will be required to meet the salary obligations throughout the remainder of the year. Any questions?
So 10% railroad tax, how much does that actually bring in?
About $59,000.
Is that kind of a windfall? Is that expected every year?
No, we did get some protested money. Yes.
We say thank you to all of you who pay your property tax.
One of the other things on the budget side that we want to watch is the Flanagan South Pipeline went into effect this past year. We were actually meeting on Friday here in town to discuss what the increase in utility taxes will receive from that. However, the estimate is probably going to be very good for the district. It's going to be bad for the districts where it's currently has been built, because they were getting the assessment prior to that. But now for us, we will distribute that as one of the 10 counties or one of the 10 districts in the county. The other piece to watch is the state legislature did actually put together a budget, including education budget for next year, which is around 49% of the overall state budget. It is simply a placeholder at this point in time. It's the exact same number as last year. One of the things to watch, and legislatures often talk very quickly about an additional $100 million that will be put into that formula. Well, as odd as it sounds, that's not good for Harrisonville, because the way it is now, we could end up as a hold harmless district, meaning we work off the old formula, which is over $200,000 more to us next fiscal year. If they get $100 million more in the formula, we will be back to about what we're receiving this year. So it's an oddity within the formula that we need to watch. And in general, yes, it's better to have more money in public education, but just how the formulas work, it could be an oddity for us. So some things to watch as we move forward.
When will that be decided?
That will be decided the second Friday in May, when the legislature is all done and set.
You know, we're going to set a budget meeting.
That is on the agenda.
Moving on, district director and building principal evaluations.
The evaluations of district directors and building principals were held during this month. They were in the closed session prior to this meeting, and I'm very happy to say that all building principals and all district directors were rehired for next year.
And all building assistant principals.
That's correct.
Yes. Thank you. Moving on to library media services. Beth.
I'm just here to hand over the podium to our district library media specialist, and I'll show you sort of what I do.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Curtis Clark, I'm a middle school librarian. I don't know whether I drew the short straw or what, or just a sacrificial male. Anyway, it's my pleasure. I work with a great group of ladies. We keep the libraries running. We presented the report to the board. Are there any questions? Actually, I want to hit some of the high points. First of all, one thing that we're very proud of this year is ECC's 1,000 Book Club for students from pre-K through kindergarten. We received publicity both from MSTA and DESE. Melissa Aronson, our newest member, is at the high school. Melissa's is doing, she is going to redesign the library to better address student wants, teacher requests, and collection volume. We also like to point toward our reading promotions in all the buildings, especially the 8th annual all-school read at McEwen. That's Tanya's Bailiwick, Earthquake Terror by Peg Carrot is the book that's being read. At the high school, Read Across America on March 1st, and Read Your Way to the K, in which the kids, I believe, could get tickets to a Royals game, right?
Yes. I'm going to 2 free tickets and a free parking pass.
And we continue as a group to meet monthly, to collaborate and stay connected. This is something we started several years ago, and we appreciate that we are still being allowed to do this. It's something that when we're the only person in the building, we sometimes feel isolated, but when we get together, we can at least talk things over, work things out, and see what else is going on in other buildings. It's a great way for us to collaborate. That's about all I have to say. Are there any questions from the board about our report or anything like that?
What is the biggest need in the libraries that this district can look at? What's our biggest need?
Money is always an issue.
Well, where would you like to see us improve?
We have some ideas that we will take to our building administrators and to Dr. Ryan, and I would rather go through that process than, just start spewing out a few things, unless there is something else that the ladies want to bring up. But, sorry. It's just support. In a lot of cases, it's support from the board, from our administration, which we've always had. You've always given us support.
Sure. I would like to certainly see Dr. Ryan have a wish list, what you all desire. Whether we can achieve that, I don't know.
How long do you want it?
Vision and what could be available to our library that we don't have.
And I want to comment how well written the report is. It is very well done. Most of you who know me know I spent 35 years in the high school library, and so all this really meant something to me. I did read every word, and it's very well done.
Well,
thank you.
Fortunately, we have a few English former English teachers that help us out, because I'm just a history teacher.
Any other questions or comments?
I just appreciate all the great things that are going on in the library media. And I know it's a good place for students to be, and you all make the things available to them that they need. And I appreciate that you all work vertically as well.
And if you'd like to go ahead, now that you've done your report, and go home and get ready for tomorrow. We may not grade papers, but we read books. Okay, moving on, curriculum changes.
You have on Board Docs a summary of basically what our department has focused on this year for you, which is very similar to what I provided last year. In addition to that, this year is a little bit of a change. There's just literally a laundry list that you've been provided of course revisions, deletions, and additions. All of those for the 15-16 school year that are being proposed are from the high school and the Cass Career Center. I won't bore the audience or you all by reading each one of those individually. I've provided just a brief summary of the rationale for the change or the addition or the deletion, as well as at the bottom you'll see kind of an overall cost based on what those proposals were. So I believe if Mr. Camp, he made it back from the basketball game, so he is also here. We can try to answer your questions as best as possible if you have any questions about these changes.
It looks like the majority of the curriculum changes involves our business department that is part of Cass Career Center, even though it's Cass in the high school. So, and I think the updates in those classes, I think that's a very good move. I think we're adding, 2 or 3 new semester English classes.
some electives courses, so our students, there's 4 credits, 4 full year credits required for graduation in English language arts. And currently the English department is the only department without any elective options for our students. So they basically take 4 year-long classes, and we wanted to offer some variety in how they could achieve those 4 credits.
And I think that's an excellent move. Yep, I knew there was one contemporary literature, I see that. The other one for our audience is creative writing and speech communications. So,
Which is very helpful.
any questions, comments by board members?
Well, I'm really excited with the college chemistry change there.
Yes, to be able to pass that in high school and have that credit already before you go to college is tremendous.
And so many majors require it, it's so much better if you take it at this level.
Principals, directors, any comments? Then I assume we need a motion.
Need a motion to approve the curriculum changes for the 2015-16 school year as presented.
I move to approve the curriculum changes for 2015-16.
Second.
Chad has moved and Marvin has second to approve the curriculum changes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to Cass Career Center Life Change Careers Program.
It is with great reluctance that I make the recommendation that we close the Life Careers Program at the Cass Career Center. Marilyn Moore has been teaching there for well over 30 years in that program. And it requires somebody who has multiple certifications, both in nursing, the ability to teach the certified nursing assistant. It requires some certification through the Department of Health and Senior Services, certification through the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, both as a career teacher as well as in special education. And based on the timing of the resignation and our notification to our 10 sending districts, I think it's important that we understand that the possibility of us finding someone who has all those certifications is pretty much slim to none. And because we know our sending schools need to be filling students' schedules and getting courses for them at this point in time, it's our recommendation that we close that program so that we can plan accordingly, both at Harrisonville High School for our students who would have been in that program previously, and all of our sending schools can also prepare to fill the schedules of their students that would have been in that program as well. As I said, reluctantly, I do recommend that we close the Life Careers program.
Will that ever be a possibility looked at if we do find the right person?
Very well could be.
Will that be posted, I assume, or will that?
When we close the program, we are not gonna post it. But I think it's one of those things we could look as a future issue to bring back if we have the space in the building.
That's basically when you go in, when that is moved out, when you plans for that.
Space in that building, what are your plans for the space in that building?
That'll be, we'll discuss that in the next agenda item.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, well, I need a motion to
Close the
the
Life
program.
Careers.
So moved.
Carol has moved and Chad has seconded to close the Life Career Program at CCC. Again, we're very reluctant to do this, but the difficulty of finding somebody who's certified as a nurse, certified as a teacher, certified in special ed, certified,
You name it.
you name it, it's very hard. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Okay.
The Cass Career Center Fire Science EMT program, the administration of the Cass Career Center is requesting the addition of a second fire science EMT instructor. And Gina has sent a memo regarding what that would be, and I know she is here to answer questions on the rationale for the second instructor for that program.
Okay, first of all, thank you on giving us the information about the weather, because we did have parents calling some students that were concerned about coming tonight. So
Okay.
it really was not a problem, and they'll come back hopefully another night. So, but since I have the podium, I have the podium, I do want to mention the kids were going to tell you this is CTE week. So it's actually CTE month in the state of Missouri. So you'll be seeing some things on Facebook. Jeanette and I were pretty busy today, so we didn't get a chance to start blasting all that out. But our teachers have been really busy, and our kids have been busy promoting CTE. And we have activities and games and prizes and things throughout the week. We're very fortunate that Hawthorne Bank sponsors this week. And so they sponsor with a significant amount of money to provide some of the newspaper print, some of the prizes for students and activities that we do with the students. So we really appreciate their support. And I think this is the 4th year that they have supported us. So, I brought with me tonight Bill Anderson. Bill is a fire EMT teacher. Bill's in his 2nd year. Last year he taught fire, and this year he's teaching EMT. He's going to provide a little information from you. And Jeanette Miller, who you're very familiar with, who is our incoming director of Task Force Center. What I'm proposing, and Jeanette and I have worked on this for some time, is the addition of an instructor to the fire EMT program beginning next school year. Currently, we have one teacher that teaches fire 1 year, EMT the next year. Fire 1 year, EMT the next year, back and forth. Each year, we do turn students away from our fire EMT program. We are currently limiting the number of students in the fire EMT class to 36 students per year. That's 18 in the morning and 18 in the afternoon. I'd like to reduce this to 32, which would be 16 in the morning and 16 in the afternoon, and max the second teacher EMT program to 32 as well, which would be 16 in the morning, 16 in the afternoon maximum. The certification requirements of fire and EMT teacher are much higher than the requirements for any other teacher at the Career Center currently. In addition to the DESE CTE teaching certification and the 6 classes required for that, the current position requires a person, Mr. Anderson at this point, to be certified as an EMTB instructor, firefighter 1, firefighter 2 certification, fire instructor 1 certification, American Heart Association CPR instructor, basic life support for healthcare providers, hazardous material awareness certification, hazardous materials operations, and hazardous materials trainer certification. This has made it difficult to find a qualified instructor for our EMT fire program. We are fortunate that our current instructor, who has spent many hours and dollars updating certification and taking college classes. While the current instructor has no immediate plans for retirement or leaving, we hope, it is important to note that hiring one firefighter and one EMT to teach classes separately will give us a much more flexibility and widen the pool of qualified applicants. Mr. Anderson?
Thank you for having an audience for me this evening. One of the things that I want to bring to you is, she put out a lot of information there as far as certifications go. And I was going through my mind as I was coming up here of how many hours it takes to do this. It's a little over 1,000 hours. And that's not study time, that's actual class time in order to get that. One of the problems that you have in this program, and it came to me as I was sitting here, in the adult program, in the fire service, you have what we do with the students here, which is considered under DESE and such. And then you have evening programs. We used to have, I think, here. Other career technical centers do evening programs. In the evening programs, they always have 2 coordinators. One is fire, one is EMT. They never do both because of all of the information that you have to learn, how much you have to keep up on it, the cost and time of keeping records to keep the certifications up of the people that you have as well as the people that are currently in your class. I don't know of a career center that an adult program that doesn't have an EMT and a fire coordinator. It gets very difficult, and I think the point that I want to make on this is doing it every other year. What I've seen over from last year to this year, and this is the first time I've done this. I've done adult for 12 years. This is the first time in high school. The problem you have with is trying to keep current in both the area of fire and The fire is not so bad, it's the hazardous materials. Okay? I've taught hazardous materials. That's one of the things I left the fire service to do. You have to keep current on that all the time, just as you do in the emergency medical. And the emergency medical is the problem. You have to keep it, and I'm hearing through the grapevine that it's going to start, they're going to up the credentials for EMT-B in what you have to have in order to get your certificate. And so if they do that, then probably you'll have to have a raise in the instructional criteria or credentialing you have to be able to teach it. So if that's coming, then there will be more, not less. So that begins to be a problem because you have now, right now, I need to finish this up, but now I need to be thinking about fire for next year. Okay? And so I keep that revolving door where it actually puts me behind in the year that I'm in, and that's not particularly good for the students here. But that's a necessity you have to have. Because if I don't, I won't have everything in place and everything I need to do in order to have it ready for next year when we do fire. By having 2 instructors, I concentrate on that. And the EMT is the one that's going to take a bunch of time. This is the one that's going to grow. Hazardous materials is going to grow by, I think, 40 hours. Okay. It's now 120 hours, will go to 160 hours for the day. EMT, they aren't even saying how many hours that will be. And so you have to expand what you give. And so it takes so much time from you that at some point you're not giving quality education. You're just trying to catch up. And so that would be my concern as a teacher, is that it provides me the ability to concentrate and focus on one thing. Develop it and make it to the best that it can be, and another teacher who can do that for the fireside or whatever, which now you realize where I want to go. But that will allow us to concentrate. I have seen from the kids that came last year how much they wanted to be here. And I've heard this from parents of the kids who made it this year. How much they had looked forward to the fact they got lucky. They won the lottery. Okay? That's what I want to keep. I want us to be able to keep that kind of a mindset amongst sending schools as well as our own kids. That this is a place they want to come because this is a great place. And so that's why I'm interested, that's why I'm here tonight, is to give you an idea of where we'd like to go.
Bill was right when he used the word lottery, because I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our sending schools. Every year, our sending schools beg us for more spots. Right now, with the 36 students that we have, we're over the state regulations, not regulations, the state recommendations for what we should have in our fire and our EMT classes. We're over. And the reason we're over is because we have so many kids wanting to get in, and we hate telling the sending schools that's it, but that's what we have to do every year. Every year we have wait lists. Harrisonville High School last year had 7 on the wait list that did not get in to fire EMT. Adrian had 4, Lone Jack had 3. If you've got this in front of you, I don't need to read all the numbers. Belton had 4. Lee Summit. I just got back from 3 days down in Jefferson City talking to legislators last week. And while down there, I got to speak with Elaine Metcalf, who is from the Lee Summit District. And we talked about program growth, expansion, that kind of thing. And when I mentioned to her we were looking at and hoping that we might be able to add a second teacher, she was so relieved, because Lee Summit only sends to us for 2 programs, and one of them is fire. And she knows every year when they've got 3 schools, they can only send a couple from each one of those schools. And by opening it up to another teacher, that doubles the number of kids we can take every year. And Elaine Metcalf up there, like I said, she was just doing cartwheels going, oh, please, please make this happen. I'm like, it's not up to me. We're doing the best that we can to explain the need for the second teacher in fire and EMT. So we know that we've got support from our sending schools who are having to tell kids no every year that no, they didn't make the cut. And when we had 7 right here in Harrisonville, it would mean volumes to them. We've also done surveys to help make sure that we're understanding the interest and that it's not just our perceived interest from some of the sending schools. And again, we had great results from that. Again, those are in here. The cost of an additional teacher, which I've also got included in here, that we've got included in here, would be made up by the tuition that we would be able to pick up and then some. That tuition that we would pick up from the sending schools would more than pay for the salary and the benefits of an additional teacher. So we feel like we're paying for it.
While we can't guarantee sending schools will fill all of the additional slots, we feel confident they will send additional students who have been on waiting lists for several years. It's also important to note that we do not recruit for fire and EMT and Lee Summit schools because they are a non-consortium Perkins school. So they basically get the slots, less slots in our schools that are in our Perkins consortium. So Kristen Quinley, if this is approved, Kristen Quinley will actually do more recruiting in Lee Summit specifically for fire EMT. And Jeanette mentioned Elaine Metcalf. Elaine, for those of you who are familiar with Summit Technology Center, is the administrator, the director at Summit Technology. So we have a good working relationship with them, and it was great to have that stamp of approval from Elaine. By having a separate fire EMT, not only will we be able to increase the number of students we serve in each program, each instructor can focus on their area of expertise. Bill mentioned EMT is where his heart is, and typically fire or EMT is where people come from. So we feel like it would be a great improvement, and we would be very appreciative if you would consider this request. Do you have any questions for any of the three of us?
I was just excited because I know it's seen it somewhere, all this stuff. And I'm just excited because I talked to some fire chiefs around the area, and they said you guys have got a jewel, it's an excellent program. And I really appreciate the education that you're trying out. And I always hear great things. And I'm really just excited to expand this.
We do get a lot of support from our local fire and EMT, and I think that also speaks to our instructor who works with all of those people to set up clinicals and set up ride-alongs and certification evaluators and thank you for that.
I see they're set on Harrisonville BOE.